So the video you're getting ready to watch right now was posted and taken down the same hour I posted it. I added a bunch out of this video and I'm reposting it. If I get more videos removed like this, they're going to take and just delete my whole channel and take it down permanently. So I've made a Rumble account and I have a Patreon and an Instagram. So please follow me there in case that happens at Shannon Rose. Hello everybody, it's Channon Rose, and today we are going to be talking about a very controversial topic, which is why I think that everybody should be homeschooling in 2025. And I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that things change in the school system, but even if they do, I feel like it's going to take a long time. Our kids, when they are young and so impressionable, it is so important for us as the parents to protect them from what is happening in schools right now. And it's not just one thing, it is a lot of things. So I wanted to kind of go over some of those things with you guys today. There are a lot of things happening in the public school systems right now, and a lot of us have no idea that this is actually happening. Kids being groomed, that they're confused about their gender. And before anybody who may not know me and try to call me like anti or a bigot or transphobic or whatever, I have many friends who are gay, lesbian, trans. This is not me being anti anything. I am very loving and accepting. I really don't care. You do what you do. But I'm talking about them pushing this onto kids who truly do not have it for the sake of monetary purposes. And this is an agenda that they have, and it's becoming a real issue. I don't know if you guys have realized or not, like in the media or like these everyone's calling them like woke people, coming out with like the pronouns and all these different things. And at first I was just like, it's really confusing, and I was very careful not to offend anybody. And I have always come from a place of like love and kindness and openness. That's just how I was raised, and it's just who I am as a human being. That like, you tell me you're transgender, then I will love and accept you for you. I never really had any issues with anybody, like ever, that I can remember for, being different. It wasn't until I started seeing more and more about kind of like almost as if they're like shoving it down your throat, like so much, to the point where I started to think like, okay, like why are they doing this so much, and like why are they pushing it so hard? If you really critically think for yourself instead of just like believing everything that you see online or hear from people, we have been accepting of gays for a long time now, like lesbian gay marriage. In 2015, the Supreme Court made it legal in all 50 states. So that but back then even we weren't doing this in schools. So that's why I'm confused, like why all of a sudden now? And not just that, but like gender inclusive bathrooms, that started in 1990, like back in 1990, in the early 2000s, they started, having gender unisex toilets, and then they a while ago even put it in like building code. They put it in the building code to make bathrooms unisex. Basically what I'm getting at is why all of a sudden are they pushing this in schools? It's because our kids are young and they are easily manipulated. They're innocent. It's easy to shape their mind however that person wants them to, and unfortunately I just feel like these innocent children are getting taken advantage of, and I can't just like stand idle and let it happen, and I needed to speak up and raise awareness about it. They've never really done that before. We know just from studies and scientists and psychologists that have studied this for a very long time that are only like a small percentage of people that are truly transsexual, meaning they were born and they believe that they are truly in the wrong body, and it is a really horrible disorder that they deal with. Disease, gender dysmorphia, I think is what they call it. And again, it's a very small percentage, but right now we are seeing unbelievable amount of young kids that are teenagers right now, or even younger, who are already having a hard time.
What types of things did you request?
Emails. So like emails from teachers, anything having to do with the parental notification policy. And so what I found were all of these communications from an LGBTQ center that is it was in our area, that they've been visiting campus, like they're working in collaboration with the teachers. We found emails showing that the teachers worked in collaborations with the trustees. Like most things, sadly, it's money. And so what I found was that center then worked in coordination with the University of California, Irvine, which is research hospital, and they are getting grant funding. So you and I are paying taxes, and they're getting grant funding to have what they call a pediatric gender diversity program. And so like this center is working as a sales arm for the hospital, going on to campuses to recruit kids into this. And so this is based on not attraction, but promotion. So this is being promoted on social media, as we know, and it's being promoted at school. And what's so disturbing about this is these are communications that I found in the San Diego Unified School District that is socially transitioning children at school so that then they go down this medicalization.
I don't know if you remember when you were younger or in school or a teenager, like how impressionable you are then, and also just like you feel sometimes confused, you don't know who you are, you're trying to figure out who you are, and also like you go through phases, right? Like I went through a gothic phase. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine if like someone during that time in my life was like, we're going to permanently make you like this for the rest of your life, and we're already seeing it, right? We're already seeing the kids transitioning and then regretting it and committing suicide. Their suicide rates are so high right now, and what they're doing is like so manipulative. They're basically saying like, if you don't transition your kids and give them puberty blockers or do these sex changes, like they're going to commit suicide. So parents are feeling like they have no other choice or their kid's going to die to do these surgeries, and then they do it, and then their kid a couple years later ends up committing suicide anyway. So I'm editing this video right now, and I wanted to just quickly make it very, very clear that I am not anti or against somebody that truly has gender dysphoria, but I also think that we shouldn't be allowing our government or school systems, or anybody for that matter, school psychologists, to be able to make permanent changes on a child. Think about it. We do not even allow our kids to get tattoos until they're 18. And that's something that now, we can remove. I've had a bunch of tattoos removed. But I think making like lifelong decisions that are permanent, having these gender surgeries and taking these puberty blockers, regardless if they tell you they are not reversible, and it's permanently changing the kids. And within like a very short time period, literally like one session, they're giving puberty blockers, and it's all because they want to make money. This is not because they care about the kids or they're worried about the kids unaliving themselves. That's why I'm upset. That's why I'm making this video. This is the problem I'm talking about, not the other stuff. It's them having trainings and programs to basically brainwash kids that do not have these issues that they do, so that they can make money off of them. These poor kids are literally like regretting it, and then they're having all kinds of psychological issues and trauma after.
If we allow children to take permanent actions when they're 10, 12, 14 years old, they will do things that they subsequently greatly regret.
I've interviewed a couple of people who've done exactly that, and it's
right.
Damn painful. Why are you willing to make this an issue?
It happened to one of my older boys, where I was essentially tricked into signing documents for one of my older boys, Xavier. This is before I had really any understanding of what was going on. There was a lot of confusion. I was told, Xavier might commit suicide if he...
That was a lie right from the outset. No reliable clinician ever believed that. There was never any evidence for that. And also, if there's a higher suicide rate, the reason is because of the underlying depression and anxiety, and not because of the gender dysphoria. And every goddamn clinician knows that too. And they're too cowardly to come out and say it. Right? And so and then we end up in exactly, when I saw that lie start to propagate, it just made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's like, I see. So you're telling parents that unless they agree to this radical transformation, that their children are going to die, and you think that's moral, and you think that's true. That is so pathological that it's almost incomprehensible. I can't imagine anything worse. I can't imagine a therapist doing anything worse than that, or sitting by idly and remaining silent while his colleagues are doing it. It's pathetic.
It's incredibly evil, and I agree with you that people that have been promoting this should go to prison.
It won't stop till that happens.
Yeah.
It'll just go underground. Puberty blockers are being accessed online by kids all the time through non-medical channels. So, yeah,
Right.
It's not going to stop.
It wasn't explained to me that puberty blockers are actually just sterilization drugs. And so I lost my son. So my son Xavier is dead.
And all the psychological trauma that they've been put through unnecessarily, and also a lot of the drugs that they're giving literally make you crazy. And I know this personally because I've taken them myself. One of the blockers that they are giving children, there's multiple ones. One of them actually is to castrate male sex offenders in prison and sterilize them. So that's one of the drugs, and they're literally sterilizing these children, and when they're older will not be able to have children of their own. That's one huge thing that I think is a really big problem. They've taken parental rights away from, they passed a law in California where they've taken parental rights away from anybody that does not agree with their child, claiming that they have this. But most of all, there's so many things I can go on and on and on, but most of all, the pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars off of these kids going through these transitions and these surgeries and taking these drugs. I think that's what it really all comes down to. They always say follow the money, and why are they doing this? Why are they pushing this so hard? Well, that's just one huge thing that's going on, and there are actual trainings happening where they are using government money to train teachers.
Okay, so there's a lot of this. I encourage you to pause this and read it on your own, but we'll read just the beginning. A warning for all parents. The US CDC issued a report last week that confirms 25% of all US high school students now identify in the LGBTQIA plus category, up from around 1.5% in the 1980s, and it hasn't happened by accident. Many kids are utterly gender confused and are asking for puberty blockers. Why are kids seeking chemical castration drugs that will ruin their health, fertility, sexual enjoyment, and leave them with osteoporosis, normally found in the elderly? Because an organization of radical trans activists called Inside Out has a New Zealand government contract to push gender confusion and puberty blockers in all, it says NZ schools from the ages of 5 upwards, but we now know that that's not true. It's actually all over the world, especially in the United States. They also have this. It's also a government contract, as you saw a little bit before, one of the moms in California doing research on that. But go ahead and pause this and read all this, because it basically shows you how they are doing this at a young age to our kids.
To be able to basically indoctrinate and brainwash our kids. I also wanted to talk about John Money. I've mentioned this before in a past video, but basically John Money was a scientist who experimented on these 2 twin boys when they were little. And this is where all this comes from, by the way. So if you go back to history, figure out where did gender studies, transsexual type stuff, if you go back and see where it actually came from.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
The fact that in a test of 8th graders across America, only 13% of them tested proficient in American history. Here's why that's a problem. You're probably familiar with the quote, "Those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it." If today's kids, future voters, don't learn from the mistakes of the past, then they're going to repeat them. Look around you today. The political problems that we have stem from the massive ignorance that our citizenry has about government corruption and conspiracy, both in the past and in the present. If we want to free our future, we have to learn from our past.
The universities, when teaching gender studies, do not teach true history. So many things we are lied to about in school. Don't even get me started, especially history. So it's again why we need to homeschool. They teach students it was pioneered in Germany because they want to hide the disturbing truth of where it really began so it can fit their narrative, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. And here is proof of that. So this is John Money. As you can see, he was the one that pioneered gender identity identity and helped establish Johns Hopkins Hospital as one of the first in the United States to perform an adult sex change operation. So if you read his story and his history, which I talk all about over on Patreon, this is a longer video over there because I can't post about it here, but I basically go into detail about who he was, what he did, and it is extremely disturbing, so please watch at your own discretion. I literally threw up the first time I read it. It made me physically sick. So yeah, please, if you can't homeschool, at least prepare your kids so they don't fall into this trap.